Hey, this is Darlene here with Just BTC. For those of you that don't know me, I run a training company that works with leaders, individuals, and teams to up-level potential and performance. So like everyone else, the way that I do this has been turned upside down, but I'm learning a new way. So let me just take a few minutes to share with you today 5 thoughts that I hope encourage you and support you at this time. I want to talk to you about those six letters that no one likes. Change. That's 6 letters, right? Change. And if there's one thing that's constant in this world, it's that nothing is, right? Think about that. Changes an unavoidable fact in our lives, our careers, our businesses, our homes, and this world. So what is it that we can do as individuals and leaders, not only to face change, but to lead through it? Because the reality is that there are people right now, well, there's always people, but right now people are intentionally looking to you to lead, whether that be your homes or your workplaces. They're definitely looking for leadership right now. I love what Max Dupree, he wrote in his book, Leadership is an Art, which it is. He said, we cannot become what we need to be by remaining what we are. We can't become what we need to be by staying the way that we are. So the question is, who do we need to become in this? And what kind of changes do we need to make? That reminds me of another statement I'm sure we've all heard. It's, if I always do what I've always done, I'll get what I've always got, right? Isn't that true? Isn't that what the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results? But haven't you done this? Aren't we all guilty of this? I know I am. I mean, the idea of always doing what I've always done and then getting what I've always gotten, and then wondering why nothing changes and why things aren't getting better. But I just want to share with you these few statements on change. And the first one is that change is here to stay. And change is not new. And we really just got to start there. Change has always been here, and it's here to stay. And sometimes I think it's easy to think that we're the only culture or the only generation that's had to go through a lot of change. And then I think of my grandpa, who is 97 now, and all the changes that he's experienced in his life. And really, we could use so many different examples, but let's just take travel, for example. If you go back in the past, one time everything used to be on foot, right? And then the stone wheel, the ship, the horse and buggy, the steam engine, the train, the automobile, and then air flight. Change is something that has been with man from the very beginning. So the point is that change has always been with us for a long time, and it's here to stay. And the only difference is that change now is happening so much faster, at a much, much more rapid pace. Society and culture has always had to change. And the biggest difference is not the change aspect, but how much faster it is, and also how much more global it's become. So number one, change is here to stay. Number two, change is not an option in the life of a leader. And that is just part of being a leader and navigating for people that we lead. And change is not an option. But I have to say, change is not an option for the life of a follower either, because change is not an option. It just is going to happen. So a question I need to ask myself is, but I want to ask you too, is when it comes to leaders and followers, who do you think is more resistant to change, leaders or followers? Now, don't be too quick to answer that question. Just slow down. I'm trying to help you here, because I always thought leaders were quick to change. That's why they were leaders. And the followers were slow to change, and that's why they were followers. But one thing I've discovered over the years is that A lot of times, the leaders aren't any faster to change than the followers, unless it's their idea. That's why great leaders help other people think it's their idea, right? Because we're all the same. In fact, I know many times that leaders actually are slower to change when it's not their idea because of the same reasons as for all of us, is that the fear of what we don't know, the uncertainty of the unknown, or the fear of the failure in it. But one thing I know well is that failure is just part of growth. It just is. And we don't know what we don't know. And until we try it, we'll never know. I love Edison and his response when a reporter asked him, how did you feel to fail 1,000? How did it feel to fail 1,000 times? And Edison was actually shocked. It, that was a new concept to him. He said, I didn't fail 1,000 times. The light bulb was an invention with 1,000 steps. Or I've heard it said before that he said, I just learned 999 ways that it doesn't work. But either way, I love that kind of perspective. And it's people like that that know that great success, it's built on failure. It's built on frustration and catastrophe and even pandemics. John Maxwell, my mentor as a John Maxwell trainer, he said, good management of bad experiences leads to great growth. Isn't that true? It's all in how we manage. Good management of a bad experience can lead to some of our greatest growth, because the truth is every problem is an opportunity to introduce us to ourselves. And change is inevitable. Think about music. Music is really generational, and music has changed so much. The music that you loved when you were 16 is probably still your favorite style of music. But think about how much music has changed, and it's just going to keep changing. Change is healthy. I know it doesn't feel like it in the midst of it, but it brings a freshness and a newness, like the change of seasons. And we know that change is necessary. We know that it creates an adjustment, a readjustment, a realigning, a refocusing. But number 3, change comes in different packages. You see, there is a change that you should never control. Ask your spouse the next time you try to change them, right? But really, in life, there are some changes that we shouldn't try to control. But then there are changes that we can't control, and therefore they become part of life, like this virus. Or even think about 9/11 and the changes that have taken place in this up-leveling the safety in our country, in our countries across globally. And it's not always convenient, but in reality, it's made us wiser and more intentionally focused on safety for our country. And then there's change you need to control, and that is leadership. It's true, right? As leaders, our responsibility is to encourage, to motivate, and help people make the change. And it's during difficult challenges and changes that leaders are revealed. It's so true that it's in the midst of these kind of crises and challenges and changes that these are leaders' defining moments. So we've looked at change is not new, change is not optional, change comes in different packages. And number 4, determine that change is just going to be part of your lifestyle. All of us are changing all the time. There's no such thing as standing still. We're either moving forward and getting better, or we're moving backwards. And as leaders, we really need a positive perspective on change. So maybe you've already been asking yourself questions, and really the quality of the question will determine the quality of the solution, right? And so here's some questions. Have the changes that I've been making me a better person? Or perhaps have the changes that I've been making me a better leader? Or what about this one? Have the changes that I've been making are they allowing me to add value and significance to other people's lives? It's something to think about when we're thinking about change in this time. And the last thing I want to say about change for today is, I don't want to drag this out, but is really a reminder for all of us during this time, is to accept that change brings about temporary stress. I'm sure that you all like that word temporary, right? And in fact, if you like that thought, that it just being temporary, just click the like on the page. Then I know you're here with me. But let me just just encourage you that this too shall pass. This too shall pass. People have actually asked me, why are you so positive right now? Are you naive? Haven't you been paying attention? But the truth is, we all just need to take a minute to remind ourselves to change our perspective. I know for me, as well as many of you, we've survived many crises and many changes that seemed impossible when we were going through them. But look at how they've changed us and caused us to grow. And from my experience, I know that whenever we go through any kind of a change, it's going to bring stress. And I find that a lot of people think change is bad because it brings stress. So in other words, they think the stress of the change itself makes them think that it's something to be avoided. Yet I'm not sure who said it, but I heard a quote one does not discover new lands without consenting to lose sight of the shore for a very long time. There is really something about consenting to the facts that we don't know how to get from here to there. Because if we did, we'd be there already, right? I mean, who likes uncertainty and instability and chaos? Yet, what if? What if this is the curriculum for our growth? And we make the transitions, we make the changes successfully, we learn along the way what worked, what didn't, that instead of stress continuing, stress will start to lessen. And all of a sudden, stress is replaced with strength and energy. And when we begin to come through the process, we feel more motivated and renewed, right? Because change always looks different on the backside than it does on the front side, right? We all know that. On the front side, there's all kinds of worries, uncertainty, fear, anxiety. And when we're on the backside, it looks different. And we're like, well, I knew we'd get there, just didn't know how long it would take or how we would actually get here. But I'm not trying to make light of this, because I know this change is much bigger. It's historical. But success leaves clues. And I know that this too shall pass, and that we're going to grow from it. We're going to be stronger. And so my last question is, what and who will we be remembered for during this change? Because this event will be part of history, and we will be remembered for what we did and how we responded. So for the next while, I hope to jump on this platform and to offer some leadership thoughts and encouragement and suggestions that we can all consider as we go through this time together. And if this is something that you felt was valuable and you'd like to hear more, just please click like so I know that this has been helpful and encouraging, and maybe invite someone to listen to it if you feel like they could use a friendly thought. And I also want to just quickly let you know that I'm offering 5 learning sessions at no cost to you during this time. Normally it would be valued at $200 a person, but it's just thinking into the idea of wanting to support people during this transition and perhaps provide a different perspective on things like problem solving from the inside out, confusion to clarity, attitudes to accomplish what we have set our minds to, and the myth of risk, and riding the fear to move forward. So I look forward to touching base with you. Thank you for your time, and keep well.